Hey, what's going on, boys? Just finished up at the gym, had a quick arm session. It's about, 2:30 in the morning. Pretty decent, Friday so far, but wanted to come here and talk to you about the importance of building good habits early on and the potential reasons why you may not be losing weight, okay? I'm gonna try to keep this as quick as possible here, and I hope you can hear me as well. Still in the gym here, but at the end of the day, building good habits early on, really, really important, especially in your early 20s. Because if you have an unhealthy lifestyle and you have that unhealthy lifestyle throughout your 20s, once you get older meaning like 30s, 40s, you're really gonna feel the consequences of not having good habits, right? You've been neglecting yourself when you should have been really implementing, good routines and good habits into your life. And so as you get older, you're gonna really feel the fact that, okay, well, you've been slacking. And now it's gonna be a lot harder for you to implement those good habits, because when you're in your 30s and 40s, you've kind of established a certain mindset, certain routines in your life, to a point where if someone comes to you and tries to tell you something, you're gonna disregard it, because you'll be like, well, I've already lived 30 years. Who the fuck are you to tell me what I need to do? Your ego is gonna get in the way. And just overall, you're not gonna be open to new information because you've lived long enough to kind of create a picture for yourself at that point. All right, but I'm gonna be speaking to the younger audience, right? When you are in your 20s, it's really, really important that you create good nutritional habits. You understand how to eat to fuel your body. You don't eat for pleasure, you eat to fuel yourself, okay? With good whole foods. You wanna focus on good carbohydrates, you want to focus on lean proteins, you want to focus on good fats, your vegetables, your fruits, but you also want to make sure that your fruits and your vegetables, are as organic as they can be. Because we live in a day and age where I believe that the big corporations are really trying to poison us with whatever food they give us. Why is that? Because, the more people that are sick and the more severe your sickness is, or the disease that you might have, the more money, the big corporations and essentially pharma is gonna make off of you. And that's why they want all of us to be sick, and they want us to rely on doctors and the medical system. Because at the end of the day, they are making money off of us, right? So you really want to make sure you implement good habits into your routine and you understand how to eat to fuel yourself so that you feel good. Not just physically, but also mentally. You're gonna have a clear mind, but then also you're gonna just overall, be just healthy, right? That's what it is at the end of the day. You go into the grocery store and anything that you look at has been processed, in a certain way. Even foods that look like they should be just simple, one ingredient product, it's still been touched, it's still been processed, it's not really making a lot of sense why, but it is the case, right? So when you go into a grocery store, make sure you do look over the ingredients list. You don't just blindly pick it, because it says healthy, or because, it has nice packaging and it looks healthy. You still want to take a look at, the macros, you still want to take a look at the ingredients. You want to make sure that you understand what you are feeding your body. It's really, really important. You also want to be able to understand how many calories your body needs, and you can figure that out very simply. You can go on Google and just simply find a calculator that's going to tell you your maintenance calories that you need for your body to maintain your current weight, and then you work off of that. So like if you're very, let's just say skinny and you want to gain weight, well then you add a couple hundred calories on top of your maintenance. Right? Or if you want to lose weight, well then you subtract from your maintenance maybe 300, 400, 500 calories depending, and you stick with that number, for maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks, and you see how your body responds to either the caloric deficit or the caloric surplus. Another thing that a lot of people kind of, I guess, don't understand, is if you're weighing yourself every single day, you really want to make sure that you are weighing yourself in the morning when you're fasted. I see a lot of people that will weigh they will weigh themselves, at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, you've already eaten all your meals, and you've drank your water and other liquids and so on and so forth, so your body is not in a fasted state. And essentially that weight you will see in the evening is not gonna be an actual number that you should go off of, right? So it is very important that you weigh yourself first thing in the morning when you wake up. That is gonna be your most accurate number that you should use when it comes to tracking your macros, tracking your weight and so on and so forth. But you really want to make sure you're eating your protein, you're eating good protein. The general baseline, is gonna be 1 gram to, let's just say, 2 grams per 1 pound of body weight. So it's really simple, if you are 180 pounds, well, you wanna eat, at least, I would say, like 175 to, let's just say, 190 grams of protein. Because protein, is obviously gonna be good for muscle growth if you work out. Of course, it's gonna be good for just muscle retention and all that good stuff, right? Your body needs protein so that it maintains the muscle mass that you have. The other thing is gonna be your carbohydrates. A lot of people think that carbohydrates is what makes you fat, which is not the case at all. You need carbohydrates, and especially if you work out. Why? Because carbohydrates, first of all, they are a source of energy, but the second, your body, is pulling water from the carbohydrates into your muscle, which keeps them fuller, which gives you better workouts when you're at the gym. So this is a myth, carbohydrates don't make you fat, and then you do need carbohydrates. So eat them. But of course you wanna kind of find a nice balance, of how many carbohydrates your body needs. And so when you kind of look at the macros you need, and you calculate your calories, the first one, most important one, is really going to be your protein, then you're gonna have your carbs, and then you're gonna have your fats. So protein, for muscle retention, recovery, all that good stuff. Carbs, for energy. And then you're gonna have your fats. You wanna focus on good fats, what's that gonna be? So, fish oil, omega-3s, almond butters, olive oil, just healthy fats. Why do you need them? You need them because when you are within the range, when it comes to your fats, your body has support to be hormonally optimized, okay? So let's say that, your fats are too low, well, you're gonna feel it. And you're gonna feel it, maybe your joints, will be painful, dry, as they sometimes say. You're gonna be moody, your hormones are not gonna be properly optimized or properly balanced, and so it is really important you keep your fats within range. For men, generally, what I find is, 45 to 60 grams of fat, is a solid kind of base. For women, it tends to be higher than that. But yeah, you would have your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. But you wanna make sure you're eating whole foods, okay? Clean food, single ingredient food, and you're keeping those in order, and then you're also kind of eating according to your goals. So again, you're gonna find out your maintenance calories, and then if you wanna gain weight, you will add maybe 200, 300, 400 calories. If you wanna lose weight, you're gonna subtract 200, 300, 400 calories, and you stick with that over a long period of time. And this is important, because a lot of people kind of think, I'm just gonna lose weight and I'll go back to where I was, and this is where healthy habit adaptation comes into play. You wanna adopt, healthy habits and stick with them, not just for a season or not just for a year, but until the end of your life at the end of the day, right? You want to make those habits a part of who you are. And you wanna follow them day in, day out for years to come. And those habits might, evolve and change also. But you want to make sure that you do have that baseline and you follow it. And you make it, a part of who you are. So nutrition, workouts, recovery, those are really important, crucial components when it comes to fitness. And a lot of people either just focus on training, I'll train hard, I'll grow, or maybe they don't train as hard, but they eat well. Or maybe, they train hard, they don't eat, but they sleep well. Well, one component is always gonna be missing. And so if you really want to make the most amount of progress in your fitness journey, you want to make sure that you understand the three components, right? Which are, again, gonna be your nutrition, your training, and your recovery. People put a lot of emphasis, on training, When in reality, training is important, but what is even more important is that you're fueling your body properly and that you're sleeping. A lot of people don't have to even push themselves so hard in the gym and they will still grow because they know how to eat and they know how to eat and they know how to sleep. Okay? So the training is important, but it's actually not the most important out of the three that I just mentioned. And so build good habits, stick with them, understand nutrition, understand your body, what foods do really well for you, what foods do you digest very easily, what foods you respond well to as well, okay? Then you also want to find your ideal workout routine, whether it's gonna be push and pull and legs, lower upper bro split, right? Personally, when I first got into the gym in 2013, I was introduced to bro split. There was no upper, lower, or any other split. All the guys were doing bro split, and that's what I know the best, and that's what I understand, and that's what I enjoy. The big reason why I'm a big proponent of bro split is because I can really just focus on one muscle group at a time when I'm at the gym, and I can kind of hit different angles of that particular muscle group. So if let's say I'm gonna be training back, I can hit the upper back, mid back, right, lower back, all within the one workout, and I don't have to go from this exercise, I don't have to go from this body part to this body part to this body part to this body part. I just focus on back. That's where my mindset is, and that's what I prioritize. I'm not getting distracted by the fact that I just did 2 exercises maybe for back and now I'm gonna be doing, something else, right? So bro split, in my opinion, is the best. But also the big reason why bro split doesn't work for a lot of people is because they don't have the mental resilience to really push through those workouts. Because when you train bro split, you're gonna be training the muscle group, once a week. And so if you do chest on Monday, well, then you're gonna do chest again, in 7 days, realistically, right? And so if you only train chest once a week, you really want to make sure you go really hard and you push yourself so that you actually need, the 4, 5, 6 days off to recover, right? That's where you kind of utilize different intensifiers, whether it's going to be your drop set, your supersets, slowing down, the negatives, all that good stuff, right? You just want to utilize, all the tricks that you can to really push yourself and push that muscle group to its limits, so that you can grow, over the period of that 1 week until you train again. So if you don't have that mental resilience to really push yourself in the gym, then yes, I would definitely agree. Maybe then push and pull or lower and upper is gonna be a lot better for you than bro split, because with push and pull legs, people generally train each body part twice a week. So obviously you're getting that stimulation twice a week and you don't have to push yourself as much, right? But it is still important that you logically organize your workouts and you understand, like, okay, well, if I trained, upper back now or on Monday, so if I'm gonna be doing back again on Thursday, maybe I'll train a different part of the back. You don't just wanna be hammering upper, every single workout. Because at the end of the day, especially if you want to build your physique to look a certain way, it is important that you logically approach how you train your body so that you have, even development throughout your body as well. Another key component that I'll touch on, don't get into the habit of skipping leg days. Leg days are really important. Why? Because when you look at the body anatomy, essentially your hamstrings, they connect with your lower back. Yes, you can train lower back, independently, but you also want to make sure that your hamstrings are well developed so that, it kind of connects and intervenes, with your lower back. If that makes any sense. And also, like, if you're heavy, in your upper body, but your lower body is weak, then imagine as you get older, your body is gonna be really exhausted and it's gonna be taking a major hit. Because you're carrying a lot of mass, up here. So don't forget about legs. They are a very important, crucial part of your body, and I would almost argue that legs are a lot more important than your upper body itself. Sure, aesthetically, upper body is gonna stand out a lot more than legs ever will. But at the end of the day, legs are functional. We use them every single day, and we need to make sure that the legs, can support whatever we kind of carry on daily basis. A lot of guys, will work in construction. They will be carrying heavy bags, a lot of equipment on them. And so it is important that your legs can actually support all the weight, that is in your upper body. And so, and why you may not be losing weight. This is something I wanted to touch base on as well. Because a lot of people, they want to change themselves. They want to lose weight. A lot of people do. So Monday through Friday, they will eat, very clean food. They are not gonna have any junk, no alcohol. But then Saturday and Sunday comes around, guess what happens? They are off of work, potentially. Maybe they are gonna be getting together with friends. What's gonna happen? Well, they are gonna go out to a restaurant and they are gonna eat. They're gonna drink. So even though they have been able to create a caloric deficit, throughout the week, Monday through Friday, over the weekend, they are gonna eat over their calories again. And sometimes people eat so much and they don't even recognize it. But the caloric deficit that they have created essentially got erased in those 2 single days. And so they are just spinning wheels around all the time, and then they are questioning themselves, why am I not losing weight? What am I doing wrong? When in simple reality, they are not tracking their food. That would be number one. And number two, they eat a lot more on weekends than they probably think they do. Because even the food, that looks quote unquote healthy in a restaurant may actually not be healthy. You don't know the oil they used, how much of oil they used, you don't know the ingredients. You really don't know anything when you go to a restaurant. And so you kind of want to make sure that if you do go out and eat, you don't overdo it. Or if you're going to be eating heavily, create space for that by not eating, heavy foods before you go out. I would mainly stick, with proteins, because the proteins are really going to be important. And the chances are you're going to eat your carbs and fats, in a restaurant anyway. So I would focus on protein if I'm going to go out on a Saturday or Sunday. And then I wouldn't worry about the carbs and the fats, because I know when I go out, I might have fries, might have pizza, I might have X, Y, and Z. So I'm gonna get my calories in, my carbs in, my fats in. But protein, has to stay. And let's just say that you did overdo it when you were out with your friends and you ate a lot of food. Don't kill yourself the next day. Don't kill yourself. Just drink more water and make sure that you move. Go for long walks or do a little bit more cardio, but you don't have to feel mentally guilty about the fact that you overdid it. You don't want to go and spiral like, okay, man, you know what, I just ate so much yesterday and now I'm not gonna eat for the next 3 days because I overdid it. No, that's a wrong approach. You still want to eat, but maybe, if you know that you had a lot of carbohydrates the day prior, you're gonna limit your carbohydrate intake the next day, so that you kind of balance it out. Plus you're gonna drink your water so that you kind of flush everything out of your body, and then you're gonna walk so that everything that might have been left in your stomach, essentially, you are able to digest the next day. And before you know it, no damage has been done. It's really, really simple. And so the key takeaways here: build good habits early on, understand nutrition, prioritize physical exercise. Physical exercise is not just for your body, it's also for your mental. And then prioritize your nutrition recovery. Those are gonna be some really important aspects. And then don't kill yourself if you overeat. It's absolutely fine. Be able to understand your body, how many calories it needs, on a daily basis for you to maintain where you are. And based off of that, you can subtract or add and go according to your goals that you have. I hope that makes sense. I'm kind of running on adrenaline, had a phenomenal arm workout, feeling decent. Let me know if this video gave you some value. I'm more than happy to clarify anything that didn't make sense. Still getting used to the freestyle and formulating my thoughts, but I'll get there at some point. So much love and respect, and I'll catch you guys next time.